even though we're past spooky season, I have a little bit of Halloween humor for you. What did the deepfake say to the jack-o'-lantern? You're a gorgeous model for facial recognition. All right, look, if you didn't immediately close YouTube and ask yourself, why the heck do I watch this goober? Thank you. I'm really just trying to hit that key demo of people who love the channel, but also love really, really bad jokes. But like most things I say, there is an obvious tie-in. AI is in the air, my friends. Now, you might have heard the news about the Akamai Inference Cloud, bringing AI inference to the edge of the internet and enabling real-time processing on a global scale. Now, it's a winning recipe. I mean, you're going to take NVIDIA's AI infrastructure, our distributed cloud computing and global edge network, and that is a sweet witch's brew of intelligent agentic AI inference that's closer to users and devices more so than ever before. But what does this mean for content delivery? Our partner FPT is already exploring the potential of AI and how they can monetize legacy content through advanced tagging. Their approach is the perfect example of how AI can transform the way we interact with content. Now, before we roll to the interview, make sure to check out FPT's amazing blog on this topic. The link is in the YouTube description. Now, without further ado, let's dive into my chat with FPT America's Executive Vice President, Mr. Garth Hamilton. Take it away. Hello, partners, hello, customers, and hello, all fans of cybersecurity trends. It is your old pal and host of the Akamai Partner Champions podcast, Nick Watkins. And I'm really excited because we have a tremendous episode in store for us today. I will be interviewing the Executive Vice President at FPT Software, Mr. Garth Hamilton. Garth, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Nick.
Well, we're really looking forward to it. And, I always like to begin these conversations where all great stories begin, and that's at the very beginning. And so I was hoping you could tell me a little bit about FPT and what unique value do people gain working with you?
So FPT is a global technology services provider, headquartered in Vietnam. We are over $2 billion in revenue with about 82,000 employees.
Not too bad.
We cover the breadth of IT services, but we do have a real focus on product development. Think software products, right?
Right.
We cover a number of industries, a number of verticals: media, entertainment, healthcare, auto and manufacturing, fintech, etc. So in terms of breadth of competencies, we have a lot of them. In terms of industries, we have a number of them. And of course, in this day and age, we are AI first. At least we're working on being AI first. Making great progress, but I'm not sure anyone can say they are AI first right now.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. It's sort of funny. I feel like sometimes with Akamai, when people ask to it, just like, it's almost easier to say what we don't do. And I feel like you have that sort of same ethos where it's like, you have such a broad portfolio and you have just so many different areas and different verticals that you excel in. So, but a little earlier, you did bring up Vietnam. And so I was kind of curious, both FPT and Akamai both founded in 1999. And one of the things I always find so interesting is how the roots of our founding still really permeate our culture. With Akamai, I'd say it's really, being in Cambridge, a stone's throw from MIT. I mean, it feels really academic at Akamai. And so with FPT, you guys have a rich history in Vietnam. I wanted to know, how is that perspective really shaped how FPT operates, and has it had any personal impact on you?
So if I look at FPT, kind of reverse myself into your question.
Right.
We're young, highly entrepreneurial organization, very strong focus on client and client outcomes, and obviously deep technical abilities, and good broad set of experiences. You think of that culture and what it brings to clients in terms of technical strengths, personalized outcomes, and of course, Vietnam sets a compelling price point. And then you kind of step back from that and say, sure, 1999, feels like a long time ago. But FPT actually stands for Food Processing Technologies.
I didn't know that.
Way back in the day. So
yeah,
if you think of back in 99, when Vietnam, they'd been through the war, they were opening up, they were trying to open up their economy, etc. They invited a number of leaders, the countries, the Communist Party, to start enterprises. Not too far from what South Korea did, if you think about it.
Right.
So our founders, group of 13, so there's 13 of them, obviously, they decided that feeding the country was the priority. And if you think of that era, war-ravaged country, coming through communism, trying to open up, it makes perfect sense.
It
you think of
does.
starting that from that kind of background and of the success they've made over not terribly long of turning it into a multi-billion-dollar global organization. That's pretty impressive. But I would say that if you think of that's where it started, and from that humble beginning, when we still follow that culture of humble, but very strong focus on innovation and driving for client success. And I feel that today. We're not braggadocious. We get things done. We're very focused on our clients and our client success. And that really, I think, comes from that original group of 13. If you just think like of the history, it's not terribly long history of how that got formed. But, people confuse FPT and say FTP because they're techies. But
It's what we
food
do.
processing technology is where it all started. And if you think of that kind of humble beginning, it really was focused on how to improve the lives of citizens in a country. It's a pretty impressive story.
Well, it's an amazing story. I mean, you could probably tell I'm a tad gobsmacked because I think I've never seen an evolution of an organization start, with F being the food part of it, but like going all the way into this, robust technology practice and really not a lot of time. And I'm probably dating myself to ignore the gray hairs. Like 1999 doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but just to see that evolution over time, I think is tremendous. And to your point too, you say humble beginnings, I say noble beginnings, because again, you're trying to bring resources to a war ravaged place, to a location, and being able to really focus on people. That was sort of the net is where I was trying to get with that, was because I think that, again, is the end of the day, that's why we do anything that we do, right? And I think it's interesting too. I mean, now providing, digital services and different things and helping people out in that way too. I think there's a certain nobility in all of it. And so very interesting. I was curious, I was doing a little bit of research on FPT. See, I didn't do FTP, which I'm really happy I didn't right after you said it.
Proud of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Just read my shirt, you'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm going to risk losing some of my listeners here, but I'm curious. I noticed that FPT is an official sponsor of one of the greatest football clubs in the Premier League. Please don't argue with me.
That depends on your perspective, but fine.
Depends on perspective, sure. But Chelsea FC, and I apologize to the Gunners, the Reds, and the Toffees who might be listening here, but can you tell me a little bit about how the sponsorship came about, and maybe share any cool stories you have about meeting players or bringing customers over to Stamford Bridge?
No cool stories yet. It's new. Yeah, we have a box. Yeah, we've had customers go. I haven't had the joy yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we get to the UK, let's talk about how we can go. I'm sure we can make it happen. But yes, we'll certainly get some cool stories. But you think of why. Vietnam is a soccer crazy country. They love soccer. So when our executive team was out there saying, how do we expand the brand? How do we get global? When you think of Europe, right? We have decent presence in Europe, but how do we grow that more? Something that allows us to participate in something we love, soccer,
Absolutely.
as well as use our deep technology capabilities to improve fan experience, to improve team operations, to improve the business of Chelsea. Because our sponsorship isn't just give them money. Our sponsorship is we also do services for Chelsea to improve the fan experience, to improve the team operations, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a marriage that makes perfect sense. It wouldn't logically do from a long way away, but when you look into it and think about it, it makes 100% sense that this is a very logical thing for our team to go and do.
Absolutely. And I love that it gives you a little bit of diversity too, right? Because, totally. I, as a marketer myself, I have to go out and play in events and we talk about cybersecurity and AI and all these different topics. And that can be heavy sometimes. And that can also, that's not their important topics, but it can be difficult. And so I think having a venue, an area where you can go and bring customers and still have those conversations, but kind of wrap it around something that is engaging and loved by the world over, I think that is tremendous. And so as a marketer, my hat's off. I think that's a
tremendous idea. I think to myself when I see pictures of the FPT logo swirling around the stadium, the fans saying, what is that?
Yeah.
Hopefully in a year or two, they'll know what it is, because that's the purpose, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's funny because, I'm unfortunately, I'm like a very typical American where it's like, I wasn't exposed to soccer much at a young age, but I remember, back in college, I think when you get a little more educated and you get more of a world view of things and then you start following it. I think I was watching when was it Frank Lampard was the goalie with the helmet on. So that was right around when I started watching and I just really gravitated toward Chelsea's, hence a little bit of fandom on my side as well. But that is really cool. And so let's talk a little bit about partnership now. And so I want to ask you, as a partner of Akamai, I'm curious, like, why you chose Akamai and what benefits do you value as a partner?
I mean, we partner with a number of people. Akamai is certainly a key focus of ours. Akamai is a leading provider. The pieces you bring to the table are certainly extremely interesting. And while your work goes well beyond, CME, intermediate entertainment, from our perspective, partnering with a leading provider that enables, at least initially, at least as we start the process, something that aligns closely to our CME practice which is pretty strong, makes perfect sense. Kind of in terms of a key area of your focus, key area of our focus, putting them together as a way we can work together to enable clients is certainly a good growth engine for both of us. So kind of, it fits together extremely well from that perspective. But I would add, I guess, second point, probably almost the more important point, is company culture. Our
Yes.
cultures align. We see the world the same way. Deep focus on driving business value through technology. Sharp focus on customer commitment, on customer outcomes. So when we sit down together, and I've been a number of the partner meetings, we talk the same language and talk the same things and have the same focuses. So if you think of those two things, it's a very powerful combination that makes perfect sense for FPT and Akamai to partner.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very, very well said. I mean, the thing that I think jumps out for me is that it's the focus on innovation too. I mean, really
Totally.
hearing some of the unique things you do. And so I don't want to step on what my next question is going to be, but having seen, Ira talk at some of our different events and at Partner Advisory Board and hearing his interview with Giuseppe, I mean, some of the things that you guys are doing are truly incredible. And so I think it is a marriage made in heaven, I think, to borrow a cliche, but I think it's really interesting to see that what we're doing together. And so before we go into that story, I do want to ask, I mean, without naming a specific client, I mean, can you share an example of where FPT solved a really tough customer challenge?
So we have a number of cases where we've done that. I think the case that's probably more interesting for us today is where we are working closely with Akamai.
Hmm.
And it certainly goes around what I would consider to be a very innovative solution that we are working together. We built the proof of concepts, etc. And it's a tough problem to solve. It's really how do you, if you have a very large media archive, long form video, sports, news, hell, your 1970s and 1980s Western movies,
Oh,
pick
yeah.
something. How you're using AI and vector search to identify specific moments of action, whether it's a touchdown, whether it's a shootout, whether it's a home run, teams, players, key players, etc., and using AI and vector search to identify what those points are. So I no longer, to monetize my archive, I no longer have to spend thousands and thousands of hours doing
Right.
manual tagging, doing endless hours of reviews, finding things, getting some of them wrong, some of them right. I end up with a smart, searchable video content that I can use to monetize my stuff. It's
Right.
there, it exists, it works. I would say that's a very tough business problem, certainly in that space. And we have working solutions for that, making use of, the horsepower from our team and the tremendous technology from your team.
Absolutely. I mean, I love this because you're reconnecting me to my own roots during this conversation. I worked at Red Digital Cinema for about 7, 8 years. So I mean, I remember the times of, having trouble storing because we were doing 4K footage before really anybody else was doing 4K. But what a challenge it was to both to manage to
Hmm.
store and to be able to find those key moments. And, I think also looking at kind of the market overall right now, I mean, so many people need content because every single conglomeration corporation has a streaming service. And so being able to get more use out of that archival footage to be able to create new content using it, I think is a tremendous value unlock for a lot of people who are sitting on this proverbial gold mine of content. And so I
Indeed.
think what FPT has done is really revolutionize the way that people can do that. And so that you nailed my question. I mean, there's no way I'm going to be able to come up with anything better than that because that was really well said, and I think
If
that'd
you
be
think
really
about
interesting.
it, when you say it's a gold mine, it's not really a gold mine until you can find the gold. So
Exactly,
I would say it turns a pile of dirt into a gold mine. Think about
absolutely,
that. You're
yeah.
the marketer, not me.
Well, no, but you've said it very well. Oh, oh my gosh, we have gone very quickly in our conversation, and
We
so
have.
we are all nearly the end of our time. But I was curious just because Garth, as I have the opportunity to interview great people like yourself and learn a little bit more about what made them successful, and I think one of the ways to do that is looking really at the goals that we set for ourselves. And so as I'm curious as we're latter half of 2025, looking ahead to 2026, I'm kind of curious. Did you have a personal goal that you made for yourself in 2025, and how are you tracking towards that?
So I don't do personal goals. I have too many business goals. But let me tell you one. I had a knee replacement earlier this year.
Yeah.
I'm an active golfer. The recovery's been quick. Surgery has been a great success. But I will tell you that I haven't moved back to the gold tees yet.
Ah.
I'm still playing
Okay.
the blues for no particularly good reason. It's, some of it's probably a confidence thing. Sometimes I play, I just don't get out enough right now. I will play the goals this year.
I love that. That's perfect. Yeah, I mean, I think especially as the weather starts to turn a little bit, at least here in the central United States where I am, and I think it's one of those things where you start looking outside, looking at the clock, and you're like, okay, I've got to start like making a lot more traction on those goals and be able to golf and be able to get out there a little bit more because
Indeed.
winter is
Indeed.
coming. Well, Garth, thank you so much. This has been a tremendously informative chat. I think our audience really has learned some great things about the amazing things FPT software is capable of doing. And I love that AI example. I think we'll have a blog coming out in the near term that will be promoting that. So I encourage all of our listeners to check that out. Thank you again for being such an amazing guest. I'm really looking forward to the release of the episode. And partners, we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you so much. Appreciate you.